is Sumner, and this is I Always Wanted To, the podcast where I interview people who are doing things that others long to do. What have you always wanted to try? My guest today is Susanne Uhl-Vening. 15 years ago, Susanna and Peter, her husband of nearly 30 years, bought a little Italian hamlet and, with the help of a mortgage, had it restored into a small holiday resort, Borgo Belfiore, near Arcevia in Le Marche. Welcome, Susanna.
Hi, Liz. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. What with the weddings and other events you host over at least 3 seasons at Borgo Belfiore, I know you don't get a lot of time to travel, but you've told me about something that I'd never heard of before, and that's couch surfing. Tell us about couch surfing.
Oh, it was my husband who introduced me to couch surfing. And couch surfing, in fact, is a social network that connects its members to a global community of travelers. And it's all about sharing. It's no cost, it's safe because references are mandatory, and it's shaping your lifestyle, your hobbies, your interests, and sometimes your home.
Wow. Okay. So how does it work? What happens?
You make a profile of your expectations and what you offer to couch surfers on the site. And then some people use it for traveling low cost. So they go to a city and look if in that city is a couch surfer. You can kind of Google inside the network. And you find, for example, Liz in Pergola, and you see her profile, and you see that she knows all about music and art, but she probably has no room to have you sleeping. But you can share her interest, and she probably shows you around in Pergola. And you find someone else who has a room to offer, and you say, oh God, I'm seeing Liv in the afternoon, but maybe next day I go to see Charles, who has a room, and I can sleep there for a night.
So it's not just accommodations. You're able to meet people. Is that the main point?
It's all about sharing. And some people like to share their homes and offer you a bed. But it's not about accommodation only. For example, we have been in Budapest with Italian friends, and we went to a nice hotel. But in the afternoon, we met a historic teacher, and she showed us around in Budapest, and so we knew much more about the architecture and the people and how it works. And then she showed us around, no cost, and we invited her for dinner, and we had a nice afternoon. She was a couch surfer, and she couldn't offer a bed, and we didn't want to because we were the 4 of us.
And it's not like an equal exchange. You don't have to host the person who has hosted you.
Absolutely not. We have been guests in India, and this Indian family will probably never come to Italy, but we stayed 4 days in their home, and so we got inside information. How does it work in India? How do you eat? What do you greetings, and where do you go to? So it's more about sharing information.
Wow. So where have you gone, and where have you actually stayed in the person's home? Or on their couch?
We have stayed in South Africa, and we even made friends. So one couple, we go there every time when we are in South Africa. So you make friends if you have a click. So we stayed in South Africa, we stayed in India, we stayed in Berlin. We stayed a couple of times. I don't recall all the events, all the times we have been there.
Anytime you ever felt kind of uncomfortable?
No. What surprises me is the trust that people have with each other. So, for example, we went to Berlin, and there was a lady, a psychologist, and she just had a new apartment in a huge flat. And she showed us her apartment, said, this is your room, this is my bedroom, this is the bathroom and the kitchen. Feel free, but I have an appointment this afternoon, so here are the keys. I go out and I see you this evening. So we never met before, and she gave us the key to her apartment.
Wow. I love the idea that there is so much trust. So what kind of information do you give that makes the site so secure? What do you put in a
So
profile?
you make a profile,
Mm-hmm.
and in that profile you tell something about you and what your interest, your view of life, your hobbies, and what you can offer to couch surfers.
Mm-hmm.
What are your key qualities that you can offer? Art, music, cooking, and then you make it as honest as possible. And if you can host people, you say, I've got only a sofa bed, or I have a room with a known bathroom. So you are quite detailed so that people, if they find you, they know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, just the day before Christmas, we had a Dutch couple here because we only host couch surfers when we don't have summer guests, so in low season.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a Dutch couple. They were traveling, let's say, the cheap way. They didn't have much money, but they wanted to travel around. So we hosted them for a night, and we realized that we shared a lot of values. So not knowing people, we had a wonderful evening together, and they slept in one of our apartments, and next morning we had breakfast together, and they left. So what they need to do, mandatory, is to leave a reference about us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we have to leave a reference about them.
Mm-hmm.
And you can never delete those references. For example, we found a young guy on Facebook, and one of the guests said, ladies, never go to this guy because he has only one target, take you to bed.
Oh.
So he will never have ladies with that expectation.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it safe because he cannot delete this account or this reference.
Okay. So where do you want to go next on couch surfing? What would you look for?
We are looking for our vacation in February because we travel in winter. And we're thinking about Vietnam and maybe a combination of a relaxed vacation and 1 week bike vacation along the Mekong Delta.
Wow. So the network is everywhere. Is it?
It's global. It's global.
Are there any places that you've found that the community is not very well established?
Not that I know. I mean, you can kind of Google in the network. We search for age, for example, because I'm not interested in staying with young people of 20 because they have different interests. Mm-hmm. So we Google of interest and of age and of place, and then you find a couple. Some do respond very quickly and some don't. Mm-hmm. You know, I was hesitating a bit with couch surfing in the beginning because we socialize all summer. We have 13 families coming all week, and they all ask us, why are you in Italy? And what, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So in my vacation, I like to have some privacy and relax. But I realized the advantage is much bigger than this socializing effect. So I love it. And we mostly do it at the beginning of a vacation and maybe at the end.
I see what you're talking about, because the idea makes me a little uncomfortable because I'm not instantly warm with strangers, and I'm not sure I'd want to be that intimate with somebody right off. But you say that the advantages are greater than the privacy.
Yeah, and you tell about yourself what you want to share. I mean, depends on you and on your host. Not every host is so going into details. Mm-hmm. And you can make that very clear when you ask people if they want to meet you. Mm-hmm. Because you communicate by an internal mail, and then you can write your expectations and your wishes.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever had to leave a bad review?
No. Not that I can think of, no.
Any descriptions not as described? Any places that were not what you were expecting?
No, the thing is that some people you really like to meet, they don't respond. And you can on the website, you see responding 90% or responding 20%. And then you are a bit disappointed because that was just the person you thought is interesting. And then, but no, we have had that couch surfers in Johannesburg. And at the beginning I thought, oh, this house is a mess. We had a very clean room and it was very and the kitchen was very clean, but there was a lot of disorder, and that makes me stress. If I see disorder, I try to clean up. But the people are so warm and so nice. So we saw them, I think, 3 times. We always return, and they send us photos, and we became friends.
Wow. I would not have thought that this, I didn't know that this organization existed.
There is another one, for example, I never had looked into it, that is called Be Welcome.
Okay.
So I think it's more or less the same idea.
I know there are ones where you work, where you're traveling, or they give you a place to stay in exchange for working, but this is simply...
I didn't look into it, and I wouldn't, because I work enough here.
Very true.
But
Very true.
probably there are house exchanges that you can have people stay in your home, and that's what friends of us do.
Yeah, Michael and I have done that, and that was a good experience. We really enjoyed that.
Okay.
So how long have you been doing this?
4 or 5 years. And we almost always do it when we go somewhere. And it's not that we want to cheap accommodation, but we are people. And my husband more even than I am. And so, but we enjoy the contacts we make that way.
Okay, I think I'm going to have to give it a try. So what advice do you have?
Oh, you will enjoy it. I'm sure you will enjoy it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for somebody who is curious and wants to check it out?
I'm not sure whether you can check out a lot about being a member, but the membership doesn't cost anything. In the past, it was $25 to sign up, but meanwhile, I think it's free to sign up. And if you sign up with a small profile, then you can look into the community and see what you find. And then I would strongly advise to make a good profile. I'll give you an example. We asked a lady in Cape Town, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot host you because I have a friend of mine and family, and so maybe next time." And I said, thank you. And next day she emailed us again and said, "Oh, I saw your profile. It looks very interesting. You know what? I'll sleep in the guest room, and I offer you my bedroom, and you're more than welcome."
Wow. So it really is a network of people who want to meet other people.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying make a good profile of yourself that is attractive as you are. So
if you don't have any references yet, how do you prove that you're trustworthy?
You can have friends talking about you.
Okay.
There is host references, guest references, and friends references.
Okay.
And so you can ask some friends to tell something about you.
Okay. Good. Well, I think it's going to be something we might check out. I love the idea that you can simply meet people in a location and they might be interested in showing you around.
Yes, if you don't feel like sleeping in people's houses, then you can just meet them.
With Airbnb, we meet people and sleep in their houses. So, but this sounds. I'm going to consider checking it out because I'm still a little bit.
What is it you're hesitating?
Just being with strangers. I am kind of reserved, but I think we might try it. Certainly do.
You can. For example, when we like to sleep in people's houses, we always look at their home because you describe your home, and we only go where we have a private bathroom and a private bedroom.
Okay.
And there are people. We had the most luxury we had in South Africa with the entrance to the pool and what have you. So there's is amazing possibilities.
Yeah. I suppose if people were coming as your guests, they would get the benefit of your beautiful place. So okay. So they're okay. All righty. I'm going to give it a try. My thanks to Susanne Uhl-Vening. There are links to her resort, Borgo Belfiore, in the podcast notes, and a link to the Couchsurfing website. I invite you all to tell me what you've wanted to try and what you'd like to hear about in an upcoming episode. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review on iTunes. It helps new listeners find us, and I really appreciate it. I'm Liz Sumner, reminding you to be bold, and thanks for listening.